The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Hello, here I am. Welcome to the show. It's the Nikki Glaser Podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm here in St. Louis. Brian is with us. What's up, Brian?
Yo.
Did I told you I went to go to see the Sphere again?
Yes. Oh, we didn't.
But I didn't tell you what it was.
So it
Like, how
seems
good it
like
was.
you went to the Superior show.
Yeah, it was redeemed. I mean,
Yeah.
they should have just played the screens from the movie I saw behind you too. It's like I'm learning, I guess, that the screens are super expensive, but that's no excuse. Bono should have taken a pay cut to make the screens better. There's no
Sure.
way that Bono should have looked like been watched there's some way in which they probably filmed themselves practicing and then watched it back and been like, what's the
Yeah.
experience like? And there's no way, but you know what? Yes, there is a way he was satisfied with it because we're the only ones who weren't. So there is a
That's
way.
the thing that's mind-boggling. That's always the thing that's mind-boggling about art is the amount of people who gobble up mediocrity like it's greatness.
They're dear people I love dearly who like things that I can't understand why they like it, and I have to ask them point for point, like, and what was funny about this line of this person's thing? Anya will sometimes see that she will like someone's comedy clip, and I'm like, I want to understand where this like came from. It's no judgment, but like all the judgment, right? Like,
Yes.
I'm like, do you just want this person to like you, or just being nice? Like, is this like a friend?
There
Do
must
you actually think this is funny? And if so, explain to me, because sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, I got it now. Okay, I just don't
Yeah. relate
relate to that, or I have taste. But anyway, so no, I definitely, art is subjective, but is it that I keep hearing, like, someone told me the other day, because I was complaining about imposter syndrome, right, on the girls chat.
Classic Nikki Glaser combo.
Classic.
Yeah.
And Carlisle, I believe, was like, that's like asking someone, like, you can't pick like the best color. There's no best color because everyone likes a different color. And I'm like, it's not like that. To me, it's not like that. There are things that are superior and there are things that are not. And yes, you can vary, like, there's some, Noah's into heavy metal or in death metal. I don't understand that at all, but I do understand there is a musicality to it that I don't grasp, and therefore I'm just left out. But there's some stuff that is bad.
You can appreciate, like there's different types of art that you can still appreciate even though it's not your thing. But then there are some things that are just a bad version of the thing. Poorly done.
Yeah. I don't think it's really subjective, because I think we can all agree on who the best comedians are. Like, at least here's the thing is, some people think there are comedians that are great, but they have bad taste, and that's fine. And I guess it is subjective because they're allowed to think that's bad, but they're wrong if you're looking at it like you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, but even the
why do we
comedians-
all agree on the best comedians being Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, John Mulaney, George Carlin? Like, why is that? Why do we all agree on
Well-
that? If comedy is so subjective, why do we all agree pretty much across the board? Louis C.K., Bill Burr, why do we all agree that those are the best?
Because
If it's
we're
so
comedians.
subjective.
We agree.
No. Anyone
Go pull
who's actually
someone out of the
listening,
street and they'll tell you that their
because
favorite
they don't
comedians,
know their work. They're not.
Gabriel Iglesias or somebody like
But if
that.
they watch Gabriel Iglesias and they watch John Mulaney back to back, I think, Gabriel's
This
very
is-
good though. But Gabriel's
right.
good, and he's
Well, that's what I'm
skilled.
saying. I can appreciate people who like Gabriel Iglesias because I can understand someone liking that. But there are some comedians or whatever. I don't think comedians, we should be talking about that because we're so entrenched in it.
Yeah.
But there are some comedians that are just terrible. And you're like, how could you like this? How could you possibly like this?
I just see that there's like, yes, everyone should be able to make art, but we shouldn't all be like, it's all has the possibility to be the best. It's like, no, some of it's not. It's just gonna be mid, as they
mid
say.
is the
Yeah, and it's
I
okay to
think,
be mid, but it's also okay to call something mid. I don't have to act like everything has the potential to be so special and great when I just will not. Whatever. I'm not gonna fight on it. But the YouTube, back to the Sphere. I
Well,
don't
here's
see
what-
how
I
you
do-
could
I
go
just
to the
wanna
Sphere
say one
show
more
I
thing.
saw and compare to U2 and say that U2 was good. Well,
No,
yes,
yeah.
One more thing.
The one element that we're not including in this is that most people are stupid. And like that's why they like mid things. They're stupid. They can't evaluate what they're seeing. I think 50% of the people who consume art are so stupid that they don't even have the capacity to evaluate something as good or
the
bad.
kind of stupid I am, because I'm not the smartest person. I'm not as smart as I want to be. But I at least know that I'm not as smart as I want to be. I think I'm really grateful. Maybe I'm not grateful. I know how dumb I am. I know my limitations and it's frustrating, but I think there's some people that are so stupid, they don't even know how dumb they are.
Yeah.
And that would be a fun kind of place to be in, is to hear big words and go, what the fuck is that? When I hear a big word, I go, how did I not know that word? I'm going to look it up. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to practice saying execrable because that word is interesting to me. I want to sound learned. And so I practiced yesterday, execrable.
Wow.
I
What
looked
does
it
it
up.
mean?
I was like, it means bad, like disgust, like just the worst.
Okay, like
Like just-
excrement.
Yeah, I guess. But I had to like really focus on it. And I'm not, because I'm stupid, because that word did not land. And some people, the guy that used this word is just an intellectual who I listen to. He has a podcast with another guy, and they just review music, and they use so many big words, and they're so smart. And I'm like, these guys didn't need to try to learn execrable. They're just the kind of smart that it just got in. And they use another word that I used that they learned or that they taught me was preternaturally.
Preternaturally, yes.
Ooh, good word. That one I'm still working on. That's today's word. Execrable I got.
Define it.
It means like like beyond just nature. It's like it's otherworldly, worldly, I believe.
Okay, got it.
I think I could be
Let's see,
wrong.
let's
That's
look
the
it
thing.
up.
I'll learn a word and then I won't know how to use it. But I know like there was a frustration yesterday of like, why can't I just be as smart as these guys? I've heard these words. Why don't they stick for me in a way that I can pull them out at any time? And it was frustrating, and I like realizing that limitation in myself made me a little bit frustrated. But I think there's some people that hear those words and just go, I'm gonna sit that out. That's not for me, and I don't care that I don't know it. And
That's fine.
I don't even think that they don't even think it's a thing that they should know or that would make them be able to communicate better or seem more cultured or whatever it is. Like I just
Well, then you know what? Like that person, I
would
love
be
that
nice.
person. They're a great hang. They'd throw you a great birthday party. They're probably going to be really empathetic. I think people like that are generally, they have their place. It's just not because, I think people who are like, I think what you're describing is somewhat of like a perfectionistic quality. And I think people who like go with
who hear a word and don't care about it?
Yeah, like no, people who care about the words are perfectionists, and people who don't care are just like whatever. And like those people are fun to hang out with.
They don't take it personally that they're
No,
not something.
definitely not. And those people can be fans. Like I mean, I guess maybe I want to step back on what I said about everybody being stupid.
Yeah, maybe. And it's stupid. It's not a crime to be stupid.
No, and I think maybe just people have different strengths and weaknesses. But also, when I think about everyone being stupid, I just pretty much think of the internet. And like just reading comments and like how dumb everybody is on Twitter and on comments.
Truly upsetting.
And you know what? And honestly, that's probably not most of the population is even making
we'll find
comments
out
at all.
In November.
I guess
but
we will.
Yeah, it does feel disheartening to read Instagram comments, YouTube comments, which I don't really do so much of, but Reddit is where you go, oh, people are still smart and really thoughtful. I feel like that's and it's not like just intellectuals on there or anything. It pretty much is just normal everyday people writing really interesting things and like using correct punctuation and stuff. And that's just like that's our education system. It's like there are people that are capable of using commas in the right places and your knowing the difference and stuff like that. And they just didn't get good teachers. And so it's not their fault. But I will say about the sphere thing was so awesome. It's called Postcard from Earth, and it's pretty much about, it's like a movie. It's a 50-minute movie by Darren Aronofsky. And I saw his movie that Jennifer Lawrence was in, Mother, I think.
And
it was terrifying.
I think so. Yeah.
It was really scary and like weird and crazy. So I was kind of like, what's this going to be?
He did Black Swan.
Yeah.
And
I didn't
The
see
Whale.
that because I was... Oh, yeah. And I saw The Whale. And I didn't love The Whale, but I liked the way it was shot. And I was excited to see what he would do with this. It was so pretty.
Yeah.
It was so stunning. There were breathtaking moments. Like, it starts out, there's an alien ship and these aliens that have like been cryogenically frozen they're not aliens, sorry, they're humans, but they're on a spaceship and they've been frozen because the world ended, I guess. And they're waking up on this new world and they're learning about where they came from. And it was called the Earth. And here's what the Earth was about. So they take you through, and then, but at first, Brian, okay, the screen was just a square, like the way you would see at a movie theater. Yeah. That's all you were seeing with the spaceship part. And
a very small amount of the actual sphere. Yeah, this is cool.
But big, like if you saw that big of a screen,
sure, in real
somewhere
life,
else,
I'd
you'd be like, oh,
that's
this is a huge screen, but it's like not using all the sphere screen. So I was like, are they doing this shit again? But it was beautiful the way they did it, because I was like whispering to Ryan Hamilton, who was in town in Vegas at the same time as me, and he went with me. I was like, they are not going to use the full screen. I go, I cannot believe this. I'm filming it for Chris and for you to be like, guess what they did to me for a 50-minute movie. But then all of a sudden they get to the postcard part. So it's like probably like 5 minutes of like the square. And I'm like, fuck this. And then they get to the Earth and it boom, and it opens up the whole thing. And I go, here we go. And it was really nice that they teased it.
Yes.
Because they left something.
Now you can appreciate. You can appreciate what you're seeing.
It was really good. And then you're going over, like, if you go to Vegas, you have to go see the show. And I'm not going to spoil it for you because there's really nothing to spoil. It's just scenic and monumental and moving and execrable. The opposite of execrable.
Inextricable, is that?
Yeah, it's inextricable.
Is that right?
It's not preternatural. It's all things that are happening on Earth and in nature, but not all in nature. Because first they're going through like a tundra, and you go over these mountains, and you're going through over the Grand Canyon, and you're kind of like, oh, and everyone like is gasping, and it's awesome. And then they're like, okay, well, then man came along, and they're kind of telling the story of Earth, and man was inspired so much by the mountains and the tapestries of the forests and everything that they wanted to build more. And in architecture, they represented that grandeur in architecture. And then they take you inside cathedrals, which you're like, I don't want to go to a cathedral. I was just in the fucking rainforest. But then you're like, whoa, this is even cooler because you're in Notre Dame, because you're also in a theater already. So the air feels the same as it would there. So it makes it easy for you to feel like you're there. And that was stunning. Yeah. And they're in these mosques, and they're in Notre Dame. And then they're like, okay, now we're going to talk about animals. And then they have like a big elephant walk up to the camera and like get so close to you. You feel like you're about to be trampled. That was really cool. And then you're in a tornado at one point, and the wind starts blowing, and your seat's rumbling. Oh, cool. And your body literally, my body was seriously like, you need to get inside. Like there was something going on in my nervous system that superseded my consciousness, that was like, you just run. Because it felt so real. It was so cool. It was 50 minutes, but I will say it's at a start time of 2:00. Didn't start till 3. So just take your time getting there.
What the fuck? Why?
I don't know. I thought in Vegas things are like,
yeah, they didn't. Well, is the Sphere not affiliated with the casino at all?
I don't know that, but it didn't say anywhere on the ticket or like on the info that the movie wouldn't start till 3. So I got there at 1:45, and we just sat around, which was nice because I got to catch up with my friend Ryan. But that's the good thing about working in Vegas, is that there are always other comics in town at other clubs or theaters.
Yeah.
Colin Jost was there with SNL people.
Oh, cool.
And we were going to go hang out with them after the show. But I'm just such a fucking pussy and lazy. Yeah. And after shows, I just want to go to bed. I don't know what's happening to me. I went to Jason Mraz last night, and I had backstage passes, and I could have just gone and just said hi. Yeah. And gotten a picture, and I should have, because I'm learning, like I've recently been having conversations about like how to move the dial. Now that your dial is up, where do you want to move it to? And what's the way to make a splash in this way? And like everything, and I'm not depressed by this. It's just the way it is. It's about who you're around, and like when you reach a certain level, it's about who you're friends with. And like, oh, she's hanging out with that person. That must mean that she's on that level, and that's interesting. She must be. And so there's a part of me that's like, I want the picture just to set the story, but the story is I know Colin Jost, and I know Jason Mraz, and I don't need to tell anyone that. Can that just be my story without promoting it? I mean, I'm talking about it here, but I mean, like, I don't know, like, can't that influence who I am as an artist and maybe take me to the next level just by virtue of knowing them, as opposed to like telling people I know them? Like, why does that have to be it? But it really is that, like,
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about like what breaks an artist in terms of like a music artist, a pop artist.
Mm-hmm.
And every example was like, and then she wrote a song about this guy that she was dating that's a famous guy. And then this other girl, that song was about this guy. And I'm like, oh my God, the way girls are breaking in is like you have to date someone famous and then write a song about them.
Guys can do that too.
Yeah, and guys can too. I mean, like, it's tale as old as time in Hollywood to just date someone and then suddenly you're elevated. But that's not an option for me right now at this point. Mm-hmm. And I'm not really interested in finding artificial ways of.
But it's part of your job.
Chain,
I mean, as a celebrity, it's part of your. It's like how people in offices hate doing like Salesforce notes, but you just gotta do the Salesforce notes. You have to post pictures of yourself with Shaq. Or else you're just gonna be diminished in the eyes of the Lord. Yeah,
I missed an opportunity to be like, look who I'm hanging out with, but I just don't. Even when I hang out with people, I always forget to get a picture, and I'm like, was that just worthless that I did that? But it isn't. Like, I don't know. I just don't know if I'm not like sitting the game out, or I don't think I'm better than the game because I understand it and I do things just for the sake of the story and because they'll be fun. Like, for example, I think I'm going to drive 2 hours after a show I'm doing in Michigan. Like, I'm doing 2 shows in Michigan on Friday and Saturday coming up. And then on Sunday, I think I'm driving 2 hours to this like small town. I don't even know if it's a small town, but it's 2 hours away to a suburb. To go watch this 8-year-old boy recreate the Eras concert in his backyard. He's like gone viral this week for like doing a really good Taylor Swift impression and hitting all the notes and being so into it. He was captivating. I mean, I was craving footage from this kid, not because I'm like, wow, a kid's doing it. It was just like, this is good. His voice is good. His mannerisms are good. I want to see this. And so I wrote some comment. The people that posted the video, which are his neighbors, through the consent of his parents, posted the video. They're running the account, and they're like, we're fans. We're going to come see you in Michigan. And I'm like, bring him by. He can't see my show, but like, bring him backstage if he cares to meet. Not that he would care, but I want to meet him.
Sure.
And they go, he has a show that night.
Oh my
God. I go,
God.
what show? And he goes, they're going to put on an Eras. He's going to do the whole Eras thing because they're just posting clips here and there. And I go, I want to go. I wish I could go. And she goes, we spoke to Kellen. He is willing to move the show to Sunday if you want to come. And I was like, I think I do.
Damn.
And I don't really have that much time in my schedule to do things that
You're being one up by an 8-year-old.
They were like, he can come to you and maybe you guys can perform something together. And I'm like, I don't want to make this about me. I don't want to use this 8-year-old for any kind of like video I'm going to be in. I literally just want to go see Eras Tour through the lens of this kid. Yeah. And yes, I am going to film it and document it because I just think it's funny. But that's the kind of thing that I'm like, I will go do that because it deep in my soul, it is what I want to do if there were no cameras around anyway. Which is also, I would like to meet Jason Mraz and hang out with Colin Jost. I just was tired and I had an early flight the next day. And last night, I was like, I don't know. I also in me is like, do they really want to hang out with me? And then that self-doubt creeps in. I've never been someone with social anxiety, but I do understand when people are nervous about going to things that seem fun.
Sure. Well, the idea of hanging out with you is different than actually hanging out with you. It's like, what's going to actually happen? What's going to fill all that time?
Yeah, and last night I kind of had BO because I put on deodorant early in the morning and then I forgot to reapply and I smelled myself on the way there.
What's
and I was
your
like,
brand?
if I hug him and I mean, I use this stuff that Chris found called Purely Great and you have to like stir it.
Oh, interesting.
With a stick and it's charcoal and it's totally natural and it makes you smell not at all. Like literally it'll make you not smell for days if you want one application. But I kind of got off that train because you have to stir it and it sometimes dries out. And so I'm just back on like butter. Secret, like, Secret. Pretty much like Secret, no aluminum.
I've been trying to get new deodorant because the deodorant that I used to use is discontinued, which is like so annoying. I fucking hate, why do companies discontinue anything?
Dude,
just keep making it.
I'm not kidding you. A staple of my diet, I eat this protein bar at least 3 of them a day. Like their meal, they just, for me, I eat protein bars like their meals. Like
wait,
when
which
I don't
one?
have it's I don't even want to say it because I don't want people to like get on board. I don't want people to
Okay. I think I can picture what it is because I see you eat
because
this.
I literally have. I can't believe they're discontinued only because I should have kept them in business just with my one customer. I was eating 3 a day equals. I mean, if you go through my Amazon thing, it's thousands of boxes I've ordered of these because I ate them for probably 7 years now.
Yep.
And this flavor got discontinued.
The fuck.
And we went to all the grocery stores that carry it because Chris was like, "No, we will not accept this." And I was like, "Babe, they're gone." And I'm okay with it because this has happened as someone with an eating disorder who hyper focuses on certain foods. All my girls out there and guys that have eating disorders that hyper focus on a certain brand or kind of flavor of something, you know it's going to be discontinued eventually, or they're going to change the flavor. It happens, and you got to move on to something else.
They'll change the formula, and then the thing you once loved is now shit.
Yeah, or the packaging, and it just looks different. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this has happened with every. This has happened with probably
packaging.
Dozens of products for me. So yeah, you're. We got to go to break, but your deodorant, or you're on the lookout for a new one.
I think I might have found a new one.
Natural.
It's all natural, yeah, but.
I'm telling you, this purely great stuff that if someone's listening and wants to find a deodorant that literally makes you smell negative, like no smell, it's a fucking miracle. No natural deodorants are like this. We've never found one. Chris tried them all. Purely great. You stir it with a stick and you have to like ladle it on your armpit, but it works. It works real good. All right, we'll be back with more after this. So Brian, you have been working on something that just got announced.
Yeah, so related to this, actually, I'm going to Vegas tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, with Tim. Tim Dillon is doing shows in Vegas. I'm not opening for him. I'm just going.
Wait, where's he performing?
The comedy club that's there. What's the comedy club called?
I don't know. There's lots of them.
Wise Guys? Is that right?
I don't know. Yeah.
But now that you mention it, it reminded me that I should go to the Sphere and check out that show. Yeah.
There's like four showings of it a day. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. It's really fun and like just a quick day and it's beautiful and it was awesome. So go. So you're going with Tim Dillon. Tim has a TV show coming out on Netflix, an election special, right?
Yeah, well, it's like a talk show, basically. It's like a talk show comedy special that's based around the election, and instead of focusing on the candidates, it's focusing on the electorate and asking the question, do we get what we deserve? And it's really like a resurrection of trash talk shows from the 90s, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Where did those go? I mean,
I don't know, but we need them now more than ever.
Because we are already primed for them because we grew up with them. We know the format. We can recognize it, and also, who better to work in that kind of atmosphere and wrangle those kinds of people but Tim Dillon?
I mean, it's like a culmination of everything he's ever done. It's like the perfect vehicle for him.
He's so good. It's going to. When I saw the there was like on Reddit, I saw a post about like, we need audience members for this show, for this talk show, and we need you to be crazy. Like, it was asking for like unhinged people.
Maybe that was this.
People, rowdy.
Yeah, no, that was this.
Yeah, I know. And that's before the announcement came, and I was like, what is... And then I talked to another guy who's working on it, and he kind of told me about it too. And I was like, this is perfect. And the greatest part about it is that if it's a shit show, which it sounds like it'll be, that's the goal.
Yeah.
You know, and Tim thrives in those environments. I just cannot wait to see this.
Yes.
I'll watch anything that man does, but especially this kind of just him. He is just, he gets along with everyone. He has a way of making everyone feel seen, everyone feel comfortable. Making everyone feel funny and appreciated, while also sneaking in just like devastating critiques of people without them really noticing, especially if they're not the smartest and the quickest. Like, he has just an ability to, he's just so good. I can't wait.
It's going to be amazing. I mean, I said this in the pitch deck. I said this will be the most accurate portrayal of America that television has ever seen.
Ooh.
I think it will be. And,
yes.
Yeah, and there was a Deadline article out yesterday, and it was my first ever mention in an industry trade.
You were in it, yes.
Yeah,
Congrats.
first ever. Which is, I've been like a showrunner before. I've been EPs on things before, but I've never had a Deadline article.
Yes.
And so this was
That's
a big
so
moment
exciting.
for Team Bry.
Oh, deadline is everything in the business. That's where
like me getting a picture with Jason Mraz. Like I need to do these things.
Yeah, you need that deadline. That is exactly what it is. It's currency in this business.
Yeah.
I've always said like the deadline article is probably a bigger splash than honestly like the poster for the show that you have coming out if you post it. Like or even the show itself. Like more people care about the deadline article.
At least in the industry,
I'm not exaggerating. Like it sounds like I'm just saying something to say something. I truly get more attention when I post a deadline thing of like, I might be doing this show than when the show comes out, without question. Mm-hmm. It's wild. So that's really exciting. And you're filming it in August? August 17th?
We're filming it in August. And if you're a bestie and you're in the LA area and you're interested in going to the taping, then...
Dude, you gotta go. I would go if I could go.
Message me on Instagram and I will forward you the link. And then I'll just make sure that you're selected. There's limited seats or whatever. But
how intensely are you working on this right now?
It's pretty intense. It's like I'm feeling it in my body. Like I did not like my wife Allie said yesterday. Like she literally said like, "Can you calm down?" Because I'm just like pacing around the house. Like I'm on the phone like 24/7. Doing the equivalent of yelling, but it's just me talking. Like when I'm amped up and I'm like doing like business chatter, it's always sounds like yelling.
Upset.
I sound upset, and I'm just on that mode. Like I'm just on that mode. Like probably like 10 hours a day, and I didn't even realize like how amped I've been. Like I feel calm today because I did some stuff to calm myself down over the last couple of days, but I've been like adrenaline fueled, super amped. My typical like just first of all, just recognize that like I didn't recognize I was like going at 100 miles an hour, super amped, and I didn't even realize how much stress I had until I was like, wait a second. I feel like I've been yelling for like 14 straight days going at 100 miles an hour, and I didn't even notice. And my wife had to say, "Can you calm down?"
Well, that's good you didn't notice that. I feel like usually you have residual like pains because
I
of that
did.
stuff.
I was like suffering through incredible amounts of pain, but that's just par for the course.
So what did you do? What did you do? You like did breathing stuff or meditation or?
Yeah, there's like rounds from the DNRS program, which I've talked about before. I've done just recognizing it, calming down, breathing. And then also I've returned to therapy for the first time.
Oh,
I started therapy again. I've done 2 sessions now with like a pain psychology therapist.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's the same therapist I had 6 years ago.
Great.
When I initially started, and I stopped seeing her because I started doing the DNRS program. And let me tell you, it's really fascinating to resume a relationship with someone that you haven't seen for precisely 6 years.
Yeah, because pre-COVID.
Well, it's a long enough amount of time for like things to change in your life, but not so long that you're like, of course things have changed. Like if you see someone from high school that you haven't seen in 20 years and they're like, I have kids now and I'm married and I work for this. Like you're like, of course you do. Like why wouldn't things have changed? But 6 years ago is close enough that you're like, oh, wow, that is surprising. So like, for example, when I first started seeing this therapist 6 years ago, I just started dating Allie.
Oh, wow.
I didn't talk to her for 6 full years. And I get to say, by the way, she said, how is dating that girl Allie? How'd that go? Like she asked that question basically.
She checked her notes. Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely checked her notes. And I was like, well, I'm married now to her, in fact.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it's
little
just
time capsule.
Exactly. It's like a time capsule as opposed to like someone who I knew as a child in camp who's like, what are you doing now?
Stuff though that you were like, man, I haven't changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so far just like, I mean, I'm still like suffering, and like that's annoying.
I actually canceled my therapy session I go every other week at this point because I've been doing pretty well. And I canceled last week because I was like, I don't really have anything. I just wrote to her the day of. I was like, I know I'm getting charged for this, but like, I just don't have anything that I need to like talk about or piece together or make sense of. And I know that's not what therapy is always for. It's just sometimes just good to do. But I'm like, I'm sorry. and like, well, she doesn't fucking care. But I was like, I'm sorry. And then, immediately this, and I was almost like, maybe I'll just stop, like maybe my life is perfect now and I don't have anything to complain about. And of course it creeps back in, eventually, but it's kind of nice to have someone who's a little bit on call who you can.
Sure. But you don't have to do therapy every week for the rest of your life. Like, it can be like, especially after you develop a foundation of concepts and tools you can use and an understanding of like what your specific deal is, you should be able to like take those tools out into the wild and use them, and you can return to therapy whenever you want. But you don't have to. You shouldn't have to rely on them for every week for the rest of your life. You should feel okay being like, you know what, I'm good. Maybe you have to come back in a year or two and.
Yeah, but it's just tough I just think about their business model and like, okay, if I just go, actually, I'm not going to do this week, and I give her enough notice that she has that open space, but she doesn't make money off of it. Like, I've kind of fucked her over by being like, I'll just pick and.
It's like canceling Netflix and watching everything in a month, then canceling it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't feel bad about, but this on like, I'm just like, she doesn't have time to fill. Like, I just feel obligated to.
Well, but it's not like you're just doing it for a week. I don't know why you feel that way, but it's not like you're just seeing her for a week and then bouncing. You're seeing her for like 8 months, a year.
Yeah.
And then you're bouncing for a long time and coming back. That's okay.
Yeah.
That should be expected.
That's true. I do couples therapy too. I just can't do too much of it. It's just, and I do voice lessons. Like, there's just seems to be a lot of like talking about my limitations that I can only take so much of. And then I do this podcast and talk about them too. I just can only take so much every week. But I will say that I am creeping back into meditation because I had nice reminders of it. I'm reading Ian Carmel.
Yeah.
He's a comedian, writer, was writer on James Corden for the whole time. I think he ended up being the head writer of it. But he is so funny, and he wrote this book called The Wet T-Shirt Club, and it's about being fat kid, fat adult, and his experience with being fat and society's they're drilling into our heads that it's wrong, and how he growing up in the early 2000s, late 90s, how it was just so bad to be a fat kid because that was like the punchline to everything. There was no body acceptance, all the stuff.
Yep.
Fascinating read. So funny. But then he kind of talks about how meditation is now a part of his self-care program. And even just like reading that, I literally put the book down and was like, let me just try it for 5 minutes. Like, it really talked me into it again. And I was like, okay, let me just do this. And then I'm kind of picking it back up. And then last night I went to see Jason Mraz, and he was doing like breath exercises during the show with the audience. He was like, let's all take a deep breath.
Wow.
And just let it out. And then he was talking to us about just like being in the moment, because he was talking about you know that song that he has that's the remedy is the experience. This is the dangerous liaisons. I said the comedy is that it's serious.
Yeah.
He talked about that song was written when he had just gotten a recording contract, and his life was like blowing up, and it was 30 years ago or whatever. And right when this happened, his best friend got diagnosed with leukemia, and he was really having a struggle, like dealing with the fact that he was having this amazing moment and that his friend was having this awful moment, and they both grew up in the same neighborhood. They drank the same water and like dated the same girl. Like, how could this be happening? And then he was telling his friend about this, and his friend was like, man, I'm not going to worry my life away, which is a lyric in the song. He was like, the remedy is just living, like, it's being present. It's just living right now. It's not worrying about anything, like the outcome. The remedy is the experience and being present. And that song, it just breathed new life into that song. And then he also had a funny thing that was like, let's all take a deep breath together right now. And we all breathe in, breathe out. And he goes, okay, let's take a deep breath yesterday. Let's take one tomorrow. And we're all like, what? And he goes, yep, you can't do that. All you have, whenever you're worried about yesterday, whenever you're about tomorrow, take a deep breath and get centered in right now. And then he had another great aphorism, if that's the word.
Let's
I don't
find out.
know.
Aphorism.
That he said that his friend, who he brought out on stage to sing with him, they wrote a song about be in your feet, or be where your feet are. So if you're worrying about something and you're freaking out and you're like tripping out about the future or the past, look at your feet and just like be where your feet are. And that just fucking helped me last night too. Because I was like kind of spiraling last night because it was an outdoor concert and there was kind of like I wasn't getting good cell phone service. And there was definitely like a vibe in the air, like the ions in the air felt tornado-ish. And there were storm clouds and there was thunder in the distance. And it's out in this area of St. Louis that's really like flat land where it's almost tornado-y. And I was like, oh my God, we wouldn't get tornado signal. Tornadoes come out of nowhere. Even weathermen can't really predict them. Our phones are not getting signals to even check the weather. And it's getting like blustery. And then I realized, oh my God, okay, so then it was blustery, right? It was like windy, and I was like, oh my God, tornado's coming. And I was like, we should probably leave. And then all of a sudden it got really calm and the wind stopped. And I was like, oh good, it stopped. And then I go, wait a second, the calm before the storm. So I was like, oh my God.
Another aphorism.
And then I realized nothing could happen in that moment that wouldn't allow my brain to convince myself that a tornado was coming. If it's calm, if it's windy, no matter what, a tornado is coming. And then he said the thing about be where your feet are. And I just was like, okay, if I die in a tornado right now, it's fine. Like I'm doing my best to avoid
but in a
that.
tornado,
but
your
sometimes
feet
you
would go
can't.
off the ground and you'd be floating.
Yeah, my feet. Oh, I would get probably bisected by a stop sign, and then my feet would be.
Your feet would still be on the ground. You can't
miles from where my body would be found.
Torture. Yeah.
It's so I just like I needed that reminder of like be present, and then also another thing that like kind of. I think we're always getting these messages and they just sink in when we need them. Have you seen Neil Brennan's latest special?
The one where he's happy now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I listened to it while playing basketball, and I didn't watch it.
I listened to it too.
Yeah.
I listened to it on 2 times the speed because that's just how I do things. And I was closing my eyes because I was trying to sleep, but I was like, let me put on something that's inspiring. I stayed awake the whole time. I thought it was fucking so good.
Yeah.
I thought it was... nearly every joke was like a closer level of joke in terms of just like, I don't know, acuity and the just making me think about a thing in a way I never have, and like kind of like sending me off with a new perception of how I used to compare things. His comparison from female orgasms to the Uber app is worth this watching the whole special alone, because that was so fucking good and so on point. I love when an analogy isn't just for comedic sake, but actually explains something in such a genuine way that you don't really have to stretch too far to make it fit. It was amazing. But he said in the special about all these influencers, he calls them like, I forget what he calls them, like clasped hand, where they like kind of do this at the first and they go, hey man. And a lot of them have the story of, especially the women, of like trauma and how like no one believed in me and I did it. And he's like, no one thinks about you. And I've heard that said before. And so at first I was like, where's this going? And he goes, there's no one sitting up at night being like, oh, I hope that bitch doesn't start her own. I hope that bitch doesn't start her own business. And that was so funny to me because no one is thinking about you.
No.
Even if you're someone in the spotlight, like they might comment shit, but they're not really preoccupied with you. And so my failures or my limitations are really only my own to fret over. And that is my own choice. And I don't really need to think about how I'm perceived because, yes, I'm perceived, but it really... I know this, but it doesn't really matter. And it all amounts to nothing in the end. I won't worry my life away. I was like, oh my God, yeah, we all amount to nothing in the end. Like, let's not fret about this stuff. But then at the same time, work needs to be done. And the only way to get work done is to worry.
To be fair, I will say this. I do have a list of about 5 to 7 people who I do wish would not succeed in their own business. I think about that. I have about 5 enemies that I'm like, once a week, I'm like, let me see what they're doing.
Do you really?
Absolutely. 5 enemies who have done me wrong, who when I see them fail, I go, but you get what you deserve.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's take that apart when we get back from the break. Okay, so you have these enemies. That you like that you hope do not succeed because you probably think they're like not talented. They probably scorned you in some way, or I'm guessing they just aren't that talented and you're like resentful of their success. Is that mostly it?
No. I'm never resentful of people's success that have nothing to do with me. It's people who have actively hurt me in this business or in, that have done things that are like, that that conflicted with my goals.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I go, if I ever get the chance to sabotage you, I will. And if you ever fail, I will laugh. And if you succeed, I'll be upset. And
you know what
I could let go of that.
On?
I could let go of that, but
I think I can help everyone with this. When someone you hate succeeds, just know that nothing lasts forever. And the only worst thing than not succeeding is when you succeed and then you lose it, which everyone will.
Yeah.
No one just keeps succeeding except like Bezos. You know what I mean? Like no one
believed in
everyone's gonna
Bezos.
have a downfall. Someone's business that everyone's talking about, or some recipe they made on TikTok and they're getting a bunch of attention, or they post their like some girl from your group of friends who's like has a following in some way and she thinks she's hot shit. She's eventually going to lose that in some way. Either she's not going to keep growing in the way she wants, or it's going to stagnate, and there's going to be a severe disappointment in herself. And I only know this because I've experienced it myself, and it's my own thing that I think about. The second I get anything, I always just think about when I'm going to lose it. So I think about that when I get jealous of other people, that they will lose it.
Yeah.
And that's soothing to me because that hurts worse than maybe never even getting it.
I mean, I just want to be clear. This isn't jealousy. This is just as pure animosity for
No, I get
directed at these people that I just want to
gotta have
destroy.
a little jealousy.
Well, yeah, if they got things, and then I was like, why? But even if they don't have things, I'm like, I just want you to fail. And I know this makes me sound like a bad person. I probably should I should release myself of this anger, like, when it's like drinking poison and expecting it to hurt the other person. But no, I believe that everybody should have at least 5 enemies. And if you don't have 5 enemies, you're just not trying hard enough. You're not trying to succeed. You're doing something wrong if you don't have 5 enemies.
I really can't think of a single enemy I have. Maybe I can think of some people, but I don't really wish them ill. I can think of some people I just don't want to run into because they cause me stress and I don't want to deal with their bullshit.
Yeah.
And I know that they could suck me back in and like kind of ruin my life. And if they even, it's almost like the way I felt in high school where like there's some people like the class clown or the kid that makes fun of people's looks. I would just want to be invisible to that guy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I feel about these people is that I think they might know the truth about me and I want to be very silent to them so that they don't call it out and make fun of me to other people or something. Like, I think that's my enemy. It's probably like someone like you that you know what I mean? Like
what?
The way you feel about these people is probably the way that
yeah.
they feel about me. Like I've somehow wronged them.
I just want to be clear. When I have these enemies, I don't want them to get sick. I don't want them to be some tragedy to befall them. I don't want them to be even sad. I just want them to specifically fail at the thing that they.
That's sad.
Usually
and
it's
that's like worse than
career-related.
being sick. I would rather be sick than fail at my career, honestly.
I mean, but these.
Wouldn't most people?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Being sick is the worst
Can I ask
thing.
you this? Okay, the other day we were talking about the submarine.
Oh,
the
yeah.
little sub.
Again, wow.
Yeah, because
still-
Spade has a joke about it where
okay.
he's like, I miss that crazy little sub. And he talks about it. And so we were talking about it. And Bobby Miyamoto, who opens for us in Vegas sometimes, he was there and he was saying, that's not like the worst way to die. Because I was talking about how they probably actually died, which Bill Dixon, who you're working with on Tim Dillon's thing.
Yes.
Bill Dixon enlightened me to how we all think the sub just like all of a sudden it was like and it just imploded and they died in a split second and they didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
But what's more likely, and this is the thing it's almost like the Human Centipede where I've like ruined it for my mom and now she can't get it out of her head.
Yeah.
Like literally earmuffs for people if you want to not hear about a horrific death. But they probably lost power and started plummeting down, nosediving, all alive. And then it was imploded as soon as it reached the pressure that it was going to have that pressure happen.
Mm-hmm.
But at first it was a lot of screaming and the toilet emptying to the bottom and them all 5 of them kind of in the nose of it, climbing all over each other, screaming to death until it imploded.
The noises being made.
And that sounds horrific, right? But then Bobby was like, in the scheme of things, it's not the worst. And I go, how is that not the worst? And he goes, it's better than dying of like some kind of long-term cancer. And maybe I'm naive, but I would take long-term cancer and I don't have any experience with it. And I'm not even like close personally to people in my life that have died of cancer. It was pretty quickly. I just don't know that I would ever, I don't know that I could choose the submarine over that.
I just don't like to think. When people ask like hypotheticals like this, I just say I don't want to answer this question.
I don't want to answer.
I mean,
oh yeah, you sit these out.
yeah, but like, Yeah, I remember someone.
That's like me asking, like ranking Taylor Swift stuff. I'm like, nope, no comment. Not gonna. No song is better than the other. No one is
Yes.
worse. No, everything's great.
Thinking of ways you could possibly die is like my Taylor Swift.
It's like the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, you went. No, you are obsessed with it,
Yes.
but you don't think about it. But
I
like,
don't know.
anytime you have free time, that's what you do with it.
Pretty much. No, someone one time I was at like a Christmas party or something, and someone was like, "What would you rather have happen? Have your hands cut off or your feet cut off?" And my answer to that was, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" That was my answer.
Well, that person probably was struggling with social anxiety and had looked up some fun or
No, it wasn't
just,
like that. It wasn't. We were friends.
Okay.
We're friends.
Yeah.
This was. It wasn't like some stranger came to me and was
no,
like, "Hey
I was
man, my
joking.
name's
I don't
Greg." Although his name was
Okay.
Greg. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Greg.
I think I would rather. That's a really tough one. I think that's interesting. These to me are
I would
not
hate. I was like, I don't want to think
great
about
questions,
either of those.
but also thinking about things like makes them happen. Like oh my God, I had a vision a really horrible vision. I've been having like almost Final Destination
Oh
like
no.
visuals.
Well, you're doing this
of
Twisters
things.
thing. Out
Yeah.
in theaters now, by the way.
Out in theaters now, and there's no romance in it. Which not interested. If Glenn Powell's not making out, I don't want to see it. But actually, we are excited to see it. Chris and I, we're pal heads. But I have been envisioning these horrific things, which is not something that my mind would usually go to, and I shudder, and then I try to like
This is
shake it
horrible.
off. And I go, God, I don't want that. But then I also have been looking so much into manifestation stuff and visualization and how that can help
Yeah.
it happen that I'm like, what the Get this out of my head now.
Yes, you believe in the power, and it's making it worse.
Oh, it's making it so worse. Final thought. Yesterday, okay, so
Oh no.
I got a new car, right? I'm leasing a Mercedes 350 EQE electric car, 4MATIC. It's amazing. It's fast. It has like a light show inside. I can make it pink. It's like a Taylor Swift car. It has a white interior. It's black on the outside. It's beautiful. It's so fucking cool. It has like the body of an MG or an AMG. It is the wheels. It's like so interesting and unique. And people have said nice car to me when I drive past, but it's not like over the top. It's not like the one the AMG I was driving around that made lots of noise, and it's not chrome. It just is it's the best car. I'm so happy with it. Chris really helped me find it. He set it up so that they just dropped the car off it to me. I signed some papers. I didn't have to stay there all day. Beautiful. I've had this car for a week. Yesterday, I have a garage at my apartment building. When you enter the garage, you have like a little key card up in your rear view mirror, or it's supposed to like stick on your windshield, but I always have to wave it because the sensor doesn't connect. But I also had tint on my mom's car that I was driving before, so we would wave it. Chris goes, "You don't have to wave it this time. Keep it up in the flap, and when you drive up, if you get close enough, it will sense it." So he showed me a couple times as we were driving it, and I was like, "Oh, that works." I tried it yesterday morning, and I'm like, I have to get too close. This is making me nervous. I'm just going to like pull it out and wave it. Worked, okay? So I got in, and I go, I'm just going to go back to waving it. This is too risky because I have before with my mom's Lexus gotten too close. The garage door opened and it like flipped the license plate. It like bent the license plate and caught the license plate. So I was like, not going to do that again. But I didn't really think of like what could happen on a different car or like in a different way. And Chris had never had this happen to him. So Chris is driving my car yesterday home from the mechanic where we had brought my mom's car to have that license plate unbent, among other things, before we return it back to them. And driving my new car home, we get to the garage, and Chris is not taking it out of the visor because he knows that he can get close enough that it will sense it. He's getting really, really close. And then all of a sudden, the garage opens. Great. And then there is a snag, and there is an explosive sound, and it rips my front bumper.
Oh my God.
Like, off, cracks like the shellac, like beautiful coating that's on the front, rips off the Mercedes logo. The Mercedes
Holy
logo,
shit.
as if I was in the movie Twister, flies up. There is shrapnel all over. It's like 5 different pieces flying so violently in there, crashes down on our windshield.
What the fuck? This happened?
Rips. Dude, and Chris is like, he is good with machines. He knows how to use them. He knows how to wield them. He is in touch with them. He does not make mistakes. He is someone who is so good about treating things and machinery and objects and pieces of art and and structure with such respect. And he just goes, oh my God. And I go, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. He goes, no. He gets out of the car. He looks at it and he just holds his head like,
oh no.
He falls to the ground,
my
is
God.
cradling his head and is like catatonic, like cannot speak, just going, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. I'm just in the passenger seat and I refuse to get out because I don't even want to see what the damage is. It's fine.
It's the
like,
lease.
Yeah.
And leases are sacred.
I don't even know.
I mean,
I'm
I
just
think
like,
I can understand his reaction because I grew up with when dealing with leases, people drilled into my brain that nothing bad can happen to a lease car, or you'll pay
really?
$700,000.
Oh, really?
You'll never be able to drive again. Yeah.
I'm glad that did not get in either of our heads because he, I think, was just like, this is going to cost us a lot. But I don't think it was about the lease. It was just about, and he's just embarrassed that he'd made this dumb error.
but the damage is so comical.
But he will not like get off the ground. Like I'm seriously sitting there for like probably 90 seconds with the dog in my lap going, babe, it's okay. And he's just like, no. And nearly in tears.
Like
I'm so sorry.
It's like
I'm so glazed. Oh God. He can't even like make words. It's like, this is the, and I go, I'm like, it could be so much worse. We could have gotten into a collision. The dog could have gotten run over. Like a million accidents happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Accidents happen to everyone. This is a relatively funny, fine one.
Yes.
It's going to cost a lot of money. It's embarrassing. It's unfortunate because this is a brand new car and I never have nice things. And we had just literally a minute before this, we had just listened to Taylor Swift's This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things. And I was like scream singing that. And he was just so sad. He collected all the pieces. He put them back in the car. We drive into the garage just silently. And he's just like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And we get out. I'm like, I'm not even going to look at it. I'm with the dog. The dog is so alarmed by Chris. Like the dog is in tune with us, right? And so the dog knows something is fucking wrong. Even though I'm staying calm, I'm not expressing. I'm just like grateful that I'm like in the scheme of things, we would be begging for this to happen if any other accident happened that's worse than this. We'd be like, God, I wish the front of my car was ripped off by the garage. I was like, this is a blessing.
Yeah.
I promise you. And we'll laugh about it someday. I'm trying to make light of it. And then the dog like runs under my car to hide from the anxiety that it feels in the air. It literally it felt
God.
the ions change and the dog's never like hid from us because it's scared or anything. And it's not like Chris was like throwing things. He was just like so sad that the dog like didn't want to be a part of it. So we have to like coax the dog out of the under the car and collect all the pieces. And Chris is just like, he has to get on a call within 3 minutes to like go a Zoom call that he has for work.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just, I hear him on there just telling the story and just being like, and he just can't stop apologizing. And I just have to say, I'm very proud of myself because I did not care at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that speaks to the fact that I have money and money's not but it does, money is something to me. And
I mean,
it is going to cost money. And we had just gotten done with therapy where I was like, you know what? I want to get to a point where my money is Chris's money. And like, if he wants to spend on something stupid, like it should come out of my money because like we're a partnership and he helps me be better. And if he doesn't make a lot of money or enough money in what he does to live the life that I want him to live, then we had just gotten done talking about it. And I was like, I think you should pay for this one. but no, that's what I was like. No, I'll pay for it. It's fine because your mistakes are my mistakes. This is what a partnership is. I forgive you. I think even Max Verstappen, I was like, babe, Max Verstappen would have made the same mistake. He was like, no, that guy knows he would have studied the car. He would have studied. And I was like, no, he wouldn't. Like, this is not because you're a bad driver. You can still do F1. But I was proud of myself that I did not do what my mom or my dad, I think, would have done in this situation, which is like,
could you?
Why do you think that you can just drive up to the thing and you think you could get that close? Why can't you just take it out of the damn visor and shake it? Why do you always like? I just knew what my mom would be saying, and like they, I think people so often just want to find a blame of like, why did this happen and why did you ruin my thing? And I went to my girls' chat and I was like, I'm really proud of myself because I did not blame him. I didn't care. I forgave it immediately. I was like laughing about it. It will be okay. And I think that is something I wish more people. I think I was just doing the golden rule, because when I make mistakes, I just want people to be easier about it, because they have to know I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that I just knew that I go, babe, there's no way on earth you would ever do anything to harm this car. You're obsessed with this car. You found this car for me. You were the one that convinced me that I deserve nice things and that I should have this and that it's worth, and you were the one that talked the price down and negotiated. Like, you wouldn't do this on like, I'm not gonna like hold you at fault for it. But it was just a lesson. And he was like, I really do appreciate how he goes, the only thing about you that I don't like when it comes to money is that you don't know how much you have, but you really do have a good relationship with like objects and things. And I remember, and Anya said to me, she was like, if that were me, I'd be pissed because it's my car and I don't like people touching my things. And I just don't have that.
It's not even your car. Gene. It's owned by the bank.
That's a good point. It's someone else's car in the future, and they'll never know. I mean, the Carfax will show what happened, but it'll be as good as new. But he did get some glue, so we're just going to glue things together until we can take it to the right place. But it ripped off everything, dude.
I mean, that's such a comical result of that. And it's a comical kind of accident, like the garage door lifting up something. But then the amount of damage that occurred is like a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Plastic pieces down on us as if we were in Twister, and it was just like there was no cars behind us, there was no urgency. It just happened in this like vacuum where we were alone to just see our car get fucked. And
I got to imagine it was also relatively slow too, because like the thing's just opening.
Yeah, because it kind of was like, and then it was and then it just like a party confetti explosion.
Oh my god!
Of expensive plastic. But I drove it last night to the Jason Mraz show, and I got home and I'm watching this the documentary on Netflix about receivers, and then I'm watching the one that Dan suggested I watch about quarterbacks, and I'm watching the Mahomes one, and Mahomes is talking about how quarterbacks have to recover so quickly from making mistakes because they got the rest of the game and they can't be focused on it. They got to go on. And so he was like, I don't even mistakes. I just let them in and out. Like they just have to pass through. I can't dwell on things. And I just reached over to Chris and I was like, did you forgive yourself for the mistake you made today yet? And he was like, no. And I was like, you gotta let this go. You can't keep.
You remember who said that to us? That exact thing was Rodney Thomas II at the Super Bowl. He said that I just don't dwell on that stuff. I don't think about mistakes and I just move on. And that's I think that's the mindset.
Is he a quarterback?
He's a safety. But I just want to remind everybody about a movement that you've started that I think is I just want to repeat it because it has been like it has created a fundamental change in both Allie and I's life, and I think it maybe went under the radar. You've started a movement where you accept people's apologies and you don't force them to apologize more than once. If someone apologizes, you accept it. And we've taken that advice and we've been applying it to our own lives, and it is really it's hard to resist the urge to rake someone over the coals. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just like if someone brings themselves to apologizing, it's so nice to just respond to that with grace and accept it, and then you have to do the work of moving on.
Yes,
yeah.
It's up to you now. They've passed the baton, and it sucks because you didn't ask for the baton in the first place, and they caused the baton to even be in play.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest gift you can give yourself and someone is just like if someone apologizes, like that's what we're all looking for.
Yeah.
Nothing can really be. You can't rewind what happened. You can just I always say, if Trump one day woke up and goes, what the fuck have I been doing and saying? I'm embarrassed at my behavior. It doesn't mean I don't think he should be tried for his crimes and like pay the price because it sets an example for society to not do those crimes.
Yeah.
But if he were to wake up one day and anyone really and go, what was I thinking?
It needs to be in good faith. It needs to be a real apology. Like I can understand.
I'm disgusted with myself and I want to change and I'm going to do better. I'd be like, you know what? I actually forgive you. I would literally forgive.
Yeah. Like, and this doesn't apply to like a boyfriend who cheats on you over and over again, just goes, I'm sorry 16 times. This needs to be a good faith apology.
is like horror. You know what is a key component for me is I'm horrified by thinking about how I act, and maybe that's something just people say and they don't mean it. But when people are like, I don't want to be that person anymore, and here's what I'm gonna do so I don't do it again. Like they show action. You can't be mad.
Yeah,
you can't.
We need to come up with a name for this movement because I think it's some good marketing tools for shorthand because it's kind of hard to describe what it is that we're like quick forgiveness or something because it's important. I think it's important and I think we should practice it more. And then actually
fast forgiveness.
That goes right back. Fast forgiveness is great. And here I am, the guy who just said 10 minutes ago that I have 5 enemies who I want to destroy.
Yeah.
But they never apologize. They never apologize.
Exactly. If they don't apologize, keep those animosities going. Let them fuel you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we got to go. We have a special edition of the podcast called Intrusive Thoughts that we're going to get to some questions that I asked you guys to ask us on the podcast. And you have to be a Big Money Players Diamond player. I think that's what it's called. It's just like I think $5 a month, and then you get all of our episodes, no ads, and then you get these special bonus episodes once a month. And we're about to record one, and we're going to answer your questions on that. But you don't have to listen to that. You can keep listening to this version. It's all here too. We appreciate you listening and coming to see me on the road. Thank you so much. Go see Brian's live taping for Tim Dillon in LA if you're there. We'd love besties in the crowd for that. And have a great week. We'll see you next time. Don't be good. Bye.